Have you ever wondered why there is a tension between how some religious communities view disability and how the disability community views itself? Let's dive into the fascinating and complex world of American Christian conservatism and its relationship with disability. It often comes down to a clash between two powerful ideas: charity and rights. First, let's talk theology. In many Christian circles, there's a strong focus on healing narratives. Think of biblical stories where miracles cure physical ailments. When the miracle of healing is the ultimate goal, disability can be unintentionally framed as a problem that needs fixing, not as a natural part of human diversity. This can sometimes lead to what's called spiritual bypassing. Instead of addressing real-world, systemic barriers like a lack of wheelchair ramps at a church, the focus shifts to prayer and spiritual solutions alone. While faith is powerful, this can leave practical needs unmet. This also ties into the idea of virtuous suffering. This perspective suggests that disability might exist so that non-disabled people can practice charity and compassion. It sounds nice on the surface, but it can create a serious power imbalance. It risks reducing a person with a disability to simply an object for someone else's spiritual growth, rather than a whole person with their own agency and needs. This is a world away from the disability rights model, which argues that access and accommodation aren't acts of kindness, but fundamental civil rights. It tests the difference between seeing a ramp as a charitable gift versus a matter of justice and equity. Now, let's look at the political and economic side. One of the most significant real-world examples of this tension is the religious exemption in the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. Title III of the ADA, which mandates accessibility in public places, does not apply to religious organizations. This means churches, synagogues, mosques, and religious schools aren't legally required to be physically accessible or provide reasonable accommodations. Now, many do so voluntarily out of a genuine desire for inclusion. But the fact that it's not a legal requirement is a major point of contention. This is often linked to fiscal conservatism and the principle of subsidiarity. This principle argues that social issues are best handled at the most local level possible, the family, the community, or the church, rather than by a large federal government. From this viewpoint, programs like Medicaid or food assistance should be replaced by church-run food pantries and community support. The debate then becomes about the role of government versus private institutions in providing a social safety net. Finally, let's touch on the historical and social aspects. The classic American pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps mentality often clashes with the biological reality of many disabilities. You can't just bootstrap your way out of a chronic illness or a physical impairment. This can lead to a harmful narrative that divides people into the deserving and undeserving. A person with a visible physical disability might receive more sympathy and support than someone with an invisible disability like chronic pain, mental health conditions, or neurodivergence. Their struggles might be dismissed because they don't fit a narrow, visible definition of disability. This also gets tangled in broader culture wars. We sometimes see disability used as a proxy to question a person's competence or autonomy. For example, discussions around neurodivergent individuals can sometimes shift into debates about their ability to make their own decisions, which has huge implications for their rights as citizens. So, where do we go from here? The good news is that these conversations are happening. Organizations are actively working to bridge these divides. They're developing what's called a theology of belonging, which moves away from the charity model and toward a vision of radical inclusion, where every person is valued for who they are, not for what they need or how they can be fixed. It's about creating communities where everyone truly belongs, not just as recipients of charity, but as equals with rights, agency, and a vital role to play. Thanks for watching. If this topic interests you, I highly recommend looking into the resources mentioned. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives.